Oh, I didn't see you there. Welcome back to Driveway Party. I'm in a good mood today because little jet boat action today. I don't think I showed anybody this yet, but I've got a jet boat with a 454 big block Chevy. It's got some nice oval port heads, big tall intake manifold, and that thing's gonna rip. It needs a little work though. The exhaust leaks water in just a little bit. So I got to figure out a solution to that, and the floors were just redone, so I need to redo the interior. I started on the wiring last summer, and the boat's kind of been parked. The steering cable's seized, but a lot of potential here. So, but overall, pretty excited to get ripping on this thing. Alright, this is it. This is my 1974 Tahiti jet boat. It has a Berkeley jet drive. This is a 454 Chevy. It's an older one that has the big oval port heads, not the little peanut port heads that were in the trucks in the 90s and late 80s. This is the good stuff here. This thing was rated not that high, only about 300 horsepower. Although they used to rate them differently. They were claiming 450 back in the 70s when this thing would have been brand new. But today's standards, it's about 300 horsepower. But it's going to get some different exhaust manifolds that are going to flow a little better. It has a tall intake manifold, a big Holley carburetor, and it does have a pretty decent sized camshaft in it. So the thing's going to rip. I figured if it's 300 horsepower from the factory, between the intake manifold, the bigger carb, the headers, and the big cam, that's got to be worth 100 crank horsepower, right? So maybe even more. I don't know. Let's say 400 to 425 horsepower. And it's an 18-foot super shallow hull jet boat. This thing, it's going to be a ripper, man. I cannot wait. But there's some issues I have to address. I kind of knew about this for a while before I bought it. I bought it off my friend Kevin, who, Kevin and Bill redid the floors in this, and he redid the engine. There's a machine shop, I think in Garwood, that redid the engine. It's 30 over, so I don't know, what is that, a 468 cubic inch, or I forget what they cube out to be. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't add any power going 30 over. It just freshens everything up. So it should have lots of compression. And before that, it was my friend Lou's uncle's boat. And he sent me some really cool old pictures of it. But anyway, these water-cooled manifolds, it puts the water into the manifold here before it goes out the hole. But what I was having an issue with was the water was not coming out of here. It was leaking out the backside. This old rubber, I guess it's from what I got from Kevin, it's not that old, but it was leaking here, and this does sit in the water when the boat's not moving. So I don't need water leaking into this thing, as well as it was leaking into the boat. So it's basically leaking water on both sides of the hull. On this side, it was on both sides, and on this side, it was just leaking outside. The inside wasn't getting any, but the other side was pretty bad. So what I'm going to do is pull the engine, because the other issue I'm having is the steering here is seized, as well as the rack and pinion up front. So I need a whole new steering rack on it, and it's real hard to get to, so I'm just going to go ahead and pull the engine out and address everything back behind the engine that needs to be addressed, and then throw the engine back in. And it's kind of ugly looking, but I do have everything wired. It was running before I started the whole YouTube channel, and the season started to change, and I no longer wanted to work on the boat. The focus went to the C10. I really wanted to get that running before the end of the season last year. So it's starting to warm up again, and I'm ready to get tearing into this jet boat. So first I'm just going to start disconnecting everything. I'm going to get the fuel tank and the headers out, disconnect the battery, and we'll go from there. Alright, I got a bunch of stuff out. Actually, all this stuff. The fuel tank, the manifolds, alternator, air filter. I did take the distributor out because I didn't want to break it. Got the battery. These are all bolts for the bell housing. Those are actually all out, and I started unbolting this front motor plate. Man, I'm afraid to take the engine out, I have to say, because for whatever reason, boats are just one of those things where you could go months without working on it and just be so happy to not have to touch the thing. Boats are just always hard to work on, man. It's hard to keep motivation, so I'm hoping to get this thing out, knock out what I have to do, and just put the engine back in. Like, the boat, when I got it, was so close to being on the water, but I was just afraid of the leaks. I do not want to sink this thing. You know, even the fact of losing a boat, I mean, all the EPA fines of all the oil spilled and gasoline spilled, it's just not something I'm interested in dealing with. So, for fear of this thing not going together, I just want to show you the water system because it is pretty cool. So, you have the jet drive back here, and you have an impeller inside this little clean out area. So the impeller's in here, and it actually sends pressurized water through this tube, and that tube comes in here and it splits. It goes to the right side and the left side, and it goes right into where the water pump would normally sit. So you're using the jet pump as a water pump, so you don't even need a water pump. The only belt driven accessory is the alternator. So you have your coolant go in there, it goes through the engine, and then it comes out where the thermostat would normally be. And on these boats, you don't even use a thermostat because you constantly have to keep flow going through the engine block. So it comes out where the thermostat would normally be, and then it goes into the water-cooled manifolds. Now, I'm not going to be using those water-cooled manifolds, so I need to put this outlet to somewhere. So I don't know if I'm going to put in another hole in the back of the hull for water to come out. See, this is where the bilge pump drains from. So either that, or I still might put it into the exhaust. But I think I'm going to put mufflers on it. It'll be too loud to be just screaming high RPMs all the time. So I think I am going to do some sort of muffler. So this manifold's going to sit... this spark plug wire bracket's in the way. But it's going to sit something like this. And I'm going to have... so it's going to kind of... The flange is going to point up. So I'm just going to have a 90-degree elbow and then some sort of muffler. And then I think I'm going to have the water go into the exhaust, because the water going in to the exhaust will actually dampen the sound coming out. So that will assist in making it slightly quieter. So that's the plan. I'm probably going to grab this big forklift and hook some chains up to the engine and try yanking this thing out. Now, my friend Bill and Kevin that put the engine in, I saw from pictures that they put it in without the cylinder heads on, and I'm going to try to not disassemble the engine. No disassemble. Well, hopefully it goes in easier. Actually, that's not true. It came out pretty easy. I think the hard part is going to be getting those splines on. Let's see what's back here. Oh wow, it's like a flywheel, like for a stick shift. So look, there's grease zerks back there. Looks like they greased them. All right, pretty straightforward. It's got a cool thinned oil pan. The capacity in this thing's huge. I bought like 10 quarts of AMSOIL to do an oil change because the engine was rebuilt like I think a little over 2 or 3 years ago. So it has brake oil in it, I'm assuming. So I might buy more brake-in oil, do an oil change, let it run for a bit. I might put this one on the engine stand. I keep saying that. Let it break in on the engine stand a little bit, and then put the AMSOIL in it and send her on her way. So I'm going to clean up my mess here, and that probably wraps up the jet boat project for the weekend. So I'm going to go ahead and order the fiberglass that I need for the back of the hull, and try to get that done maybe next weekend or the following. So definitely before it's swimming weather. So I'm excited, I'm pumped, kind of riding the high of having the engine out now, so get this thing jamming. So that's it for this weekend. I'd appreciate it if you like and subscribe. If you're new to the channel, if you're just following along for the jet boat, there's a couple other cool projects. The Turbo LS 4th gen Camaro. I have the 62 C10 corn pop. The thing runs on ethanol. Made 736 horsepower at the wheels. It's a turbo 6-liter LS with a 80mm turbo, and I think it's pretty badass. You guys should check it out. So yeah, like and subscribe. We'll see you next week. Bye now. All right, bonus footage. Didn't plan on coming out to Sean's, but I brought the seats here so we can mock up the cage. Looks good.